All right, well, welcome everybody to hands-on session number 5. Let's build in SQL part 3. So we're digging back into having some SQL fun. So just to take a look at, we do have a variety of deep dive sessions on the Automation Studio topics that are going to be starting as early as January 7th. So Yosina will be sending out notifications for those. Just to give a preview, Samal, who's on the call today, he'll be presenting on advanced import and export functionality using FTP. So thank you in advance, Samal, for that session. That'll be probably in February. So I think we've got at least 10 sessions queued up to start. And then we'll also be hopefully doing some hands-on sessions as well. But this sort of completes the fundamental sessions and the hands-on sessions related to the fundamentals part as well. Okay, today we're going to wrap up our SQL, exploration of SQL using functions and features in the basic 3 areas of SQL, the select, from, and where statement. So I think if you attended other sessions, we've used functions like last session we used the case function. We did multiple joins in the last session where we joined a date extension that we wanted to suppress and not send. We've used the date add get date function, used the in function. So today we're going to be using the group by function, the count function, the max function, and a couple of different joins as well. So some more fun in SQL. And again, we refer back to this handy chart for those whenever you're using those joins. It's always good to visualize how these different joins work. These query cheat sheets that you can find throughout the internet can be helpful just to sort of visualize what you want your data to do. So definitely refer back to those charts. And then let's talk about our use case we're going to be covering today. So we covered use case number 1. Our second use case is to create some really cool engagement reporting in Marketing Cloud. Now, there are some out-of-the-box reports that are available in Marketing Cloud, but we want to do something a little bit more custom using those amazing data views in Marketing Cloud. So our goal is we want to view engagement across subscribers. And when we're talking about engagement, we're going to focus in on clicks. Opens are a little bit more tricky, as we know, in the email world. They don't, not necessarily can be verified depending on how people are viewing their emails, but clicks usually tend to be pretty accurate. So we're going to use data views in Marketing Cloud to create a query to, first of all, pull up all clicks in the last, say 30 days or 60 days in our environment. And then we're going to want to use the group by function and the count function to say, I want a list of all emails and I want a total of the clicks for each of those emails so that we can say, hey, which email is the most successful from an engagement standpoint. So that's how we're going to use that group by function, the count function in our query. So I just wanted to offer it up, give anybody a last chance if anybody is interested in being a builder. Otherwise, I can start doing the building. And I just wanted to check the chat, see if anybody's interested in being a builder. Okay. And please raise your hand if you're interested as we're moving along to be a builder. I'm happy to do that. So let's go into Marketing Cloud. And we've been playing around in this awesome Query Studio. So we're going to go back there again. Again, Query Studio is a free application that you can install into Marketing Cloud. Look under the App Store. It's free. It's fantastic. It allows you, as we're going to do today, to create those queries and see that data without creating an actual query itself. And I always start with the 3 basic sections of any query: the select, the from, and the where. Okay, so now let's talk about the from, where we're getting this data from. And anybody use the data views in Marketing Cloud in their work for validating data, getting custom data? No? Okay.
I do.
Oh, great, Tamara. Fantastic. Which data views have you used?
A lot of the job ID, subscriber,
Awesome.
you click send, like your basic, just trying to track email engagement.
Fantastic. Wonderful.
Event
So
date.
yeah, let's take event date. Yeah. So let's go take a closer look at these data views. So if you search in Google for Marketing Cloud data views, there's a couple of different resources. I kind of like this one. It's a little bit more easy just to sort of scroll through. And so it gives you all the different data views here. So let's go to this. In our use case, we want to use the click data view. So this gives you a couple of different data points. Helpful here to know the subscriber key, that event date of when that click happens. We can also get some specific details about the actual click itself, like the URL that can help you identify where this click was going to on your page, on your email is unique, can be helpful to identify a unique click. So let's start here with click, and we're going to pull this, the top, it gives you a description of that data view. We're going to pull this into our from statement, and that is where we're going to get our data from. So super easy, from _ click. And now let's start pulling into our select statement the data that we want to output. So we're going to eventually connect this to job ID. So let's just do that so that we can visually see it. Let's see, another point we're going to want to bring in. Let's bring in subscriber key. So like we do in queries, I like to have your first line can just be the variable itself, and then every other variable you start with a comma, just so you don't forget the comma at the end. Subscriber key, let's put in event date. Let's put in the URL so we know where that click is going to. And if you're using like an A tag, you might have a link name depending on how it's looking, but that can be helpful to determine your links. If you've got an email and you've named all your links, you can search from that standpoint. And then let's just bring over this is unique just so we can see what that data looks like. Oh, okay. So you might know as I don't know if it says it here or it might be saying it over in the top. Data views typically bring in data from the last 180 days. So queries system data views using Automation Studio for up to 6 months of Marketing Cloud subscriber and journey information. So particularly with Click, you'll know that you're going to get the last 6 months worth of data. Subscriber, however, should be a full list of all your subscribers. Okay, so question, do we need to select email address if we want to send an email to these contacts, email address? Great question. So for this use case, we want to do a report to determine, our goal is to determine how many clicks, for which email is getting the most amount of clicks. So you might have thought, Jeremy, that we had, because we're including the subscriber key in here, we might want to reach out to that subscriber and might need an email address. But for this use case, we're just looking to report on engagement. So great question there. So email address won't be used for this use case, but we absolutely would want to use that for another use case. Great call. Okay, so if we go back to the Query Studio, we could run this query. It's going to pull in the clicks for the last 18 months. Excuse me, the last 6 months. But we want to limit that a little bit. So let's say we want to pull in clicks from the last 30 days. So to do that, we're going to use our where clause, and we're going to use that same functionality that we used in a prior query, which we're going to use the date, where we're going to use the event date. So let's bring over the event date. And then we're going to want to use it's greater than or equal to the date add. And then the date add function has 3 sections. So we want to say day. And we want to say that is minus 30, so 30 days ago. And then we want to pull in the database date for the current date, which is get date. So this is saying I want to pull in all clicks where their event date is, from 30 days ago to today. And that's what that's doing there. So let's run that and see what we get for data. We use this as this environment is a sandbox that we do send emails and we do engage a little bit. So we might see a little bit of data. For a full-on environment, you might want to narrow this down to like a week or a day. A great question. Can we set where filters with values that are not in the select part? Absolutely. Great question. Yes. You can use, you have the full availability to use any field in the where clause that you've got in your database. And that, again, that is the database that's in that from statement. So any of these fields are available for you to use in your where clause. The select is just basically identifying what data you want to output into the data extension itself. Great question. Can we add a rule to avoid bot click activities? Yes. So Navia, that's a great question. Do you have a suggestion on that? We've built a solution for that, but it requires a little bit of configuration on that, which I'm happy to cover. But I'm curious to get your take on what you've done for avoiding bot click activities. And just to give a frame of reference on that, at least that's what we've explored, a bot click activity that we found is that when you're sending out an email and you find a subscriber who clicks all, a bot is usually going to click every click associated with that email. Clicks to remove that happen within 90 seconds. Yeah, that's, we consider that. What we've done, which requires a little bit more configuration on this, and happy to to discuss this in another session, is what we do is we add a hidden link in our email itself, and if a bot is going to what a bot will do is they'll just go through the the email code and they're going to click on every single email link. We have a hidden link. The only way you can click on that link if you are a bot. And so what we do is we'll have that go to a specific URL, and what we'll do is we'll say the URL was mycervello.com. It was a unique URL. We would add that to the where clause to pull out anybody who clicked this specific URL, which would be a bot. That's what we've done as far as standing that up for clients. Only the timing is a good solution as well. The only thing that we don't want to hinder is that somebody who's super engaged and gets that email and wants to click right away, which is probably not the case for someone within 60 seconds. So it's a good solution either way. But thank you for bringing that up. It's a great question. Okay, so we've got some data here, which I think is enough. just to sort of for our solution. So, you know, again, 10 rows of data, that sounds good. So, so again, we see here our data. We've got the job ID, which we're going to use in another moment. We've got the subscriber key, event date. We've got that URL, and then we've got this is unique, which is handy as well to identify. You know, you basically want to, you don't want to overcount those clicks. So in this example, we're going to isolate just the is unique clicks. You know, and still need some clarity from Salesforce. I don't know if that's probably the one that they validate as the one click, just so that you're not overinflating your engagement. So just because we don't have a ton of data here, I'm just going to open this up to 90 days, just because I want to have a little bit more data, maybe a couple of different emails that we can count on, but we won't run that now. Okay, so okay, we've got our first part, which identifies, we're able to pull in this engagement data, this click data from that data view within a certain time frame. Now we want to identify, our goal is to identify the email name that this came from. We could use a link name on the click data view. That can help indicate it if you're using specific names in the link name, in the A tag. But we're going to use the job ID to identify some more data that that's provided with the job data view. So let's go back into our data view database, and let's go take a look to tomorrow's point. The job data view really is, you really want to use the job data view in most of your data view queries, just because it's sort of like the hub where a lot of these data views are connected. You don't absolutely need to use it, but let's just take a look at what's in job. So what can be helpful, it has that email ID, right? That email ID is that individual email content of 5-character value that identifies that email ID. So that can be helpful. And then here's this email name. So in our example, we want to pull in that email name. It'll give us something to look at that we can look in the data for our use case, so that the end result will be, you know, it'll be a listing of all these email names. And you know, we can just sort of quickly and easily see which email name has the most engagement. So let's go back up and let's find this. We're going to add this to our from statement, this job data view. And because we want this, these records to only exist in both click and job, we're going to use the join, not the left join. So let me ask, we've got another question from Jeremy. Does click contain clicks from every communications journey, email studio? Great question. Yes, it is an email click. So no matter how you send the email, whether it's in a journey, whether you're doing a user initiated send, that is a click for an email. I find the email name to be helpful and most great. I'm glad we're using that. That makes sense. Okay. So now when we're doing a join of another data extension, we need to name our first Jane extension. So let's name that as C. We'll name job as J. And now we need to figure out how we can connect these two, these two databases. And so if we take a look, that's kind of why I outputted this job ID for clicks, so that we can see that on the data view there is a job ID as well. So that will be a good candidate to connect. So we're going to start with C.job ID equals J.job ID. Fantastic. Okay, and then now we can, we're going to modify our select statement. And let's put that name up there first. So again, this is J dot, and let's go back to our email name, make sure that we've got that syntax correct. There we go there. We don't need that job ID anymore. We're going to hold on to subscriber key for right now. Just might be helpful there. So we just need to make sure that as a C. I don't know if we need to see event date anymore. I think we got that validated, so it's probably not critical. URL probably still helpful there, is unique. We'll take a look at that as well. Keep that in there. And just because just depending on how much data that we have for 90 days, if we don't have enough data, we might keep is unique. Take both the false and the true values for that. But let's just see what we get for data. And let's just see if we've been getting any errors from, okay, that's the one thing I forgot here. Oh, you know, I'm gonna open it up to the group. Anybody have any suggestions of what this error means and how we can fix this error, what I forgot to do? It's comma after as C. And that's a good question. Let's try that. Syntax is not allowed. That's a good question, but luckily in your join, in your from statement, comments aren't needed. Missing on after J. That is right. I forgot the on statement. Thank you, Simone. Yeah, I was a little bit quick there, so there we go. And then I don't believe this matters, but let's see if that fixes that. Yeah, excellent. One other really minor thing, it doesn't have an impact, but because this came from C, it's good to have that in there, but thank you, Small. Sometimes I get a little bit too fast with my query building, and when I first started doing queries, which wasn't that long ago, I would just be running scared every time I got an error. I'd be like, I don't know how to fix this. And it's not super clear, right? It's like near C, it said, but that could be this C, like, where's this error? So anyways, thank you, Simone. Okay, so now we've got a little bit more data here starting to come together. Now we see these email names, so we're seeing that there. We've got that subscriber key in there. You can sort of see looking like this subscriber has, this is unique, is helping identify that subscriber's separate click. So it looks like we've got, at least for this abandoned cart hands-on email, this looks like it's got a multiple click on there. Let's just see the next page. Yeah, so you know what? I think ideally with this filter, we would want to remove all those that were not unique, just because that would be the solution. But just because we don't have enough data in here, for right now, we're going to keep we're not going to add that filter in the is unique, just so we can get the counts a little bit bigger. But we'll add that in a minute. Okay, so our next solution is now we want to output a count of, by each one of these emails, we want a count of how many clicks did they summarize, right? I mean, we could export this into an Excel file and we can, spot count this, but if you're dealing with thousands of data points and hundreds of different emails, you want to use this, query to help to do that. So let's use the group by function to accomplish that. So we want to group this by the email name, right? So the email name is what we want to do that grouping. we want to group all the clicks, you know, for those that email name. So we're going to add that group by there. And then we also want to add a field which is going to output the count of all of those clicks. So so let's do count of this email name. I think this will work as email. We're going to, just for this exercise, we're going to remove the is unique and the subscriber key variables, just because, well, you know what? We'll leave one in here. We'll leave a couple in here. So whenever you do a group by statement, you also need to, any of the variables that are not in the group by section, you need to either use a max or a min function, just so the query knows when you're doing the grouping, it knows what, you know, which of did they want the highest alphabetical, you know, email name, or in this URL, it would be you know, the highest in alphabetical order, or the least. You need to have them choose one. So we're going to say max URL as URL, and then we also need to max out the subscriber key. Now neither of these values really matter for our example, but I just wanted to show you. You know what? Let's just not do that so we can see the error of what will happen if you don't do that. So let's just run that again. So that might be the incorrect syntax error. Let's see if we do a max on that, if that solves that problem. Okay, maybe I'm doing something wrong here. Max J email name, group by J email name as subscriber key, max c.url as URL. Don't believe that is the issue. And I don't think it's group by now. Let's see, create incorrect syntax near the keyword as. Max the subscriber key as. Let's try running that again. It sounded like might have been that space there. Anyway, I didn't think that would cause that, but it looks like it might have been the space between the as and that paren that caused that issue. Okay, so we're running this data. Let's see what we get for data. Any questions on the group by count? Doing its thinking. Okay, so we've got some data here that we don't necessarily need, but here we go. Here for each of those email names, we can see the count of those clicks. Now again, this includes the is unique and the not unique clicks, just so we could see the different data sets. But that's that's what there's the end result. It gives you an idea. Okay, we know that the abandoned carts hand-on email had 10 clicks. Now again, this is sort of assuming that every single one of these emails had sent to the same segment, and they sent the same amount of sends, right? So it's just for the exercise of using the count function and the group by function. So it's not not the perfect use case. but hopefully that gives you an exercise of how to use that count function. Yeah, it's a great question. So can you explain the purpose of the max, please? So when you're doing a group by and you want to output variables that are not in the group by function, you need to either select a max or a min. So that tells SQL, because you're grouping, you're consolidating to report just one row for this email name, you need to tell SQL to say, okay, SQL says to you, all right, you want me to condense all of these records, these abandoned cart hands-on email records. There's 10 of them. You want to consolidate it down to one row, no problem. Okay, but you also want to output subscriber key and URL. Well, if you want me to do that, you need to either tell me, do you want the maximum one, the one that has alphabetically is at the end, or do you want the one min, which is the one that's the one that's closest to A? You need to tell me which record you want to output here. And so that's what that max and the min does. It helps SQL tell you, if you want to output a record, I have to choose one of those 10 fields to output. So you either tell me it's the minimum one or the maximum one there. So that can be, that you have to do that. So just have to be conscious of, that data in here is not going to be accurate, for the specific use case that you're using. If you're looking to identify a specific count by a specific subscriber and identify a specific field, just know that the max and min is going to choose either the earliest record or the latest record. It might use different variables from different records. Of the 10 records, it might choose the subscriber key from record number 2. It might choose the URL from record number 5. So whenever using group by function, just be knowledgeable that the data that you're using and mixing when you're using max and min is not going to be, it may not be all on that same row of data that you were looking to retrieve from. Sorry if that was a little convoluted there, but cool. So there it is, the group by function. It can be very complex. You can create a lot of really complicated queries using group by. Try to, when you're starting out with your group by function, try to just limit the number of fields that you're outputting, the max and the min. And try a simple version like this of your group by before you add really complex group bys where you could have multiple variables here. But it is a very powerful tool to use there. So any questions on group by or anything related to this use case? Okay. Well, I think that will wrap up our SQL session. Definitely take a look, the takeaways for sure. Definitely check out Query Studio if you don't have it. It's free, it's fantastic. Just like what we just walked through, gives you the ability to visualize your data, fine-tune your queries before you actually put them in the queries itself. Number two, when you're exploring those new functions within SQL, start off with simple use cases. So whenever you're using group by, start with simple ones, simple examples. And then don't forget about these amazing data views. There are so much data in here. You can find opens, you can find sends. Like for instance, if you wanted to expand this query, you would do a separate query to populate for each of those emails the number of emails that were sent. and then you could put the clicks next to that, so you could go get like a click-through rate, and that might be a little bit more of a valuable KPI versus just number of clicks. There's subscribers, which will give you the database of this is how you use all subscribers in your queries using the subscribers data view. The business unit unsubscribe is also a very powerful query. If you are, data view, if you are in a multi-business unit environment, you may not be able to access those subscribers who are unsubscribed in a query using the subscriber tab, the subscriber data view. You might have to use the business unit unsubscribed there for that. Do you have any questions on nested queries? Oh my God, love, love, love nested queries, the best. Yes, we will make sure that we do a hands-on session, if not even a deep dive session on nested queries. So fun, the best. We'll absolutely do that, Tamara. Thank you, great call out on that. Cool, well, if there aren't any other questions, thank you all for attending. Look out for those amazing Automation Studio deep dive sessions that will be coming in January. JV is also launching an Agent Force bootcamp, which I think we're all super excited to see as well. It's going to be happening the same time as the Automation Studio, so definitely check out the Agent Force bootcamp. You know, JV does an amazing job with these bootcamps. It's going to be mind-blowing, mind-blowingly cool. So keep your eyes and ears open for that. And have a great holiday season. Thanks for all attending, and we'll see you in New Year. Thanks, everybody. Bye.